Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, going to 5,000 subscribers, September 7th, Texas LSU, can't wait. Guys, ask and you shall receive. Here comes the recruiting video. All the momentum we've had going on, Quentin Johnson committing today, just, across the board, the excitement level through the roof amongst the UT fan base. Carrington tweeting earlier today, 14 commits in a month. It's insane. I haven't seen momentum like this in a very, very long time in this program. And just with 14 days to kick off, we had our second scrimmage today and listening to Tom Herman. Excitement level is through the roof at this point, guys. Before I start, and I'm going to we're going to do a deep dive into the recruiting stuff, and I can't wait for the conversation in our chat. This actually might evolve, I think, as probably before the season starts, we'll do a live chat with you guys, and it'll evolve into just because we can really, really get into the weeds on recruiting. But I do want to do a deep dive today. But before I get started with that, prayers, thoughts to Bru McCoy and his family. Look, I know it was messy, and that was the big distraction this offseason and him going back to LA. But to hear about the brother being ill and facing the fevers and the father saying about the specialist and all the things he's going through, those of you who are parents, any of us should be able to empathize, but those of you especially who are parents, to see your child, your baby going through that is tough and very unfortunate. So please keep me in your prayers. I want to see him on the football field. I wanted to see him in the Texas Longhorn uniform, but first and foremost, I want him to have his health. Right, and so hopefully he's able to get healthy, and the doctors are able to figure out why he's so sick and get him back up to health and get him back out there at USC. He's going to be a good kid, and he deserves to have that opportunity, to display his gifts. So prayers and thoughts to Bru McCoy and his family. Getting into the recruiting stuff. So before I go through, we had the Zachary Evans video was probably the last recruiting type content I produced. I know we've been covering, Tran and I have been covering guys as we've been going through our Texas series and updating you on who's committed in 2020 and 2021. But I since the Zachary Evans video, we were down, when we didn't make it the top 5 and Bru, then the Bru stuff was going on at the same time. It was what's going on in DFW, and now we're losing a guy like our signature guy from Houston. Like, what is going on with recruiting? And boy, has this program responded in a major way. And we have to thank a lot of people. Rashad Samples, who just recently left us and headed to SMU, I believe a wide receiver coach, but just his role in securing, Quentin Jackson and Jalen Moreau, and then, really building the movement, the DFW to Austin movement, and opening that I-35 corridor for us to really have the trust of the coaches up there, the players up there, that they're in good hands. I give a lot of credit to Coach Samples, and we're really, really thankful, and he's going to be missed. I know we've had some recent guys come in because Jalen Moreau's becoming a hell of a recruiter himself, and I'll get to him in a second. But really just a big thank you to Coach Samples. We're already seeing what he's doing over at SMU, for those of you who aren't paying attention, with the billboards up in the DFW area. And what he's doing with the Mustangs and embracing their local guys, and even Shane Buechele is on one of the billboards they have up there. Coach Samples himself is on one of the billboards. So just leveraging that local credibility, and really, really thankful for him and the importance of that. I do think it's incumbent for Tom Herman and this staff to find a suitable replacement for him. We've talked a lot about David Beatty, but also, I think that youth and him being one of the brothers up there and just having that innate connection with guys, very similar to what Brian Carrington's been able to establish. I think that's really, really huge to kind of let the guard down and really get to know and build a relationship with a lot of these kids. as well as their families. And that leads me to the next thing. Why are we on this run? Where did this momentum come from? Why are we having such a surge where it seems like every day over the last few weeks we got another recruit coming in, some of them surprise recruits, some guys bumping up their commitment dates they say they're going to announce in the fall, and then on Twitter the video comes out or whatever, and Texas and Texas and Texas and Texas. And so where's this run coming from? I just mentioned the families. I think our staff, and I've seen this really going back to when they got here, they've made a concerted effort to really make that connection with a lot of guys' mothers, fathers, and making them not just, hey, your kid's in good hands, hey, we're going to make your kid a great man. Every program walks through the door says that. But you're actually going to be a part of this experience with them. One of the things I love about our parents when they come to the visits is them donning the jersey, and other schools do this to some degree as well, but I think Texas has actually done a good job of being genuine about it. You see the parents on Twitter, Mrs. Vaughn, who's out there. So many of these, they're part of the fan base. They're part of the excitement level. They're honed into the team, and they're an extension of the program. And I think our staff does a tremendous job of making those connections and really building that up, because at the end of the day, yes, kids want to go and they want to go to the fun schools and the schools that could get them to the NFL. And I might hit on, the negative recruiting even against Texas. But at the end of the day, a lot of these kids that either may feel homesick or, not really quite sure, they don't want to veer far from home, or family is important to them. UT is doing a tremendous job of driving home that message to the parents, to the kids, and to their entire family. So I think that's a big element that we've been able to really start to generate some momentum on. I think player-to-player recruiting has been a huge part of this. Jaquindon Jackson saying help is on the way, right? Then you have the Jalen Monroe thing. Also, guys understanding from a regional perspective, hey, I'm going to commit early. I'm in Houston. I want my other Houston boy to come with me. I want my other Dallas boy to come with me. And even in Central Texas, and I think we've always been pretty good in Central Texas, but I'm even seeing the camaraderie there. You're seeing guys, that aren't even going to be here, that are in the 2021 class, going out for pizza night together up in their area and just really bonding. And it's becoming a pull for other players that are like, I want to be a part of that. There's a movement going on there. They're on the come up. The momentum, we're starting to see the momentum on the football field from last year. Hopefully that carries over and continues into this fall, and we're able to leverage that to get even more guys. But there's a movement right now that's forming that is so strong, and I haven't seen it like this before. And we've been recruiting well. Don't get it twisted. I mean, just in the Tom Herman era, I know the transition class was tough, and that is what it is, but 2018, I believe we were, most of the stuff I'm going to be speaking on is 24/7 sports based, but I believe we were number 3 last year, depending on the Bru stuff. We were between, 3, 4. We were in the top 10, right? So, again, number 1 class in the Big 12. The other thing, too, that I want to mention is guys that are playing the same position that aren't scared to commit when somebody else is committed. We're bringing in, this is another 2 quarterback class with Hudson Card and Jaquindon Jackson. And, the embrace to the competition between those guys. The competition that's already there with Rashawn Johnson and Casey Thompson in the future as well. Jalen Monroe class afterwards, right? But guys just embracing the school as well. Tom Herman actually spoke on that today. And shout out to Daniel Young. For those of you who are seeing that video of the interview or just the presser where he spoke, circulating, and somebody asked him why he didn't transfer, Dan Young that is, and him talking about earning it and being accountable and getting better and loving this school. And you don't hear that often in 2019, especially against players who many of us as fans have been frustrated with the lack of development with Daniel Young to some degree, especially coming off his freshman year. But hearing him take full accountability, he's going to be a great man. And you can see the man that he's being molded into and how appreciative he is of the opportunity to be at the University of Texas, right? And I think that's another thing they're doing a very good job of selling is life after football. What does that look like? Everybody again, Auburn used that in the Chris Thompson recruitment about, the NFL stuff, and I get it, but there has to be a greater plan, and that's what the parents want to hear as well, right? That they're going to be taken care of no matter what and get a A1 education. So we've touched on all the things, and you hear from Sam Ehlinger too about earning it and the competition. Look at all the offensive and defensive linemen we're recruiting. These guys want to come in and compete. Will there be transfers? Will there be guys that get in trouble? Will there be guys that don't pan out? Yes. And that's why I think sometimes people put too much of an emphasis on recruiting because at the end of the day, the thing that's more important than recruiting, and I love recruiting, and I know there's guys on here that are recruiting nuts that are going to jump in the comments and break down everything I say, and that's awesome. But the thing that's more important than recruiting is player development and coaching these guys up and maximizing on their potential. Part of player development is the coach's initial evaluations of these players. And what do I mean by that? When you look at Alabama and Clemson, which is the gold standard of college football right now, and the factories that these teams have constructed, not every player in all their classes, and go back and look, not every player in all their classes are 5-star players. They get their share of the top tier guys and some 5 stars, yes. But a bulk of some of those classes are still 4 and 3-star guys. And Texas's classes, yes, while we haven't been getting the creme de la creme guys the last few years, one of the reasons why we've still been able to hang around the top 10 and the top 5 in recruiting is we have had a ton of 4-star guys, a ton of high-end, high-potential 3-star guys, right? But what's the development process? The thing that Alabama and Clemson has mastered is they hit on their evaluations. You look at a Josh Jacobs, he was a 3-star. You look at Eddie Jackson, some of the other guys, Harrison, the safety, right? That's on Jacksonville Jaguars now. He was like a high school quarterback, 2-3-star. Even when they got Jalen Hurts, I think he was 3 or 4-star, but he wasn't. He may have been outside of even the top 10 of the dual threat quarterbacks that year. So, and that's over the year before when they had a 5-star, a Blake Barnett, right? But how do those players develop when they get on campus? Some of our most successful players have been guys that we thought of as projects coming in. You look at a Connor Williams, I believe from Capel, who was initially a tight end at 260 pounds and ended up starting for us freshman year left tackle, right? So what is the player development? What's the upside of a lot of these guys? That's why a lot of people are excited about a Van Fillinger in this class. Tom Herman today mentioning a guy like a Marcus Tillman Jr. who turned his head in the scrimmage today, who was, I believe, our second lowest rated recruit in this past class. So we get excited about the big names. Me too. Yeah, we all want Zachary Evans. Yeah, we all want Keely Ringo. But every evaluation, every player is important in building this. And I think what's going to get Texas back to because they have the resources, they're getting the analysts, they're getting the coaching, they're getting the facilities, they're getting all of those things in place. But what's going to get them back there is once they have the players, molding them better. Oklahoma's won 4 straight Big 12 championships, and all but 1 year, which I believe was a transition class, we've ranked and had a better recruiting class than they have. So it has to be that their player development, as well as their scheme, is a showcase for their players more than what we've had. So that's the final step for our program, and I think we're getting there. We had guys showcased last year, and now you're seeing some guys on our team that are getting those preseason Big 12 accolades and getting on the covers of magazines and getting that national love and attention. So all these things meld together. But I just want to say before, and I'm going to get started with the 2020 class first, a couple shout outs to some folks. But before I even get to the shout outs, guys, support local high school football, especially those of you who live in Texas. One of the things I can attest to is since I've been living here and moved to Austin 2012, I try to get out to a high school football game at least every other Friday night, schedule permitting. Obviously, sometimes I got to have date night with the wife and whatnot. And sometimes that high school football game might be date night. But my cousin being a local, playing for Pflugerville the last couple of years, I've been able to get out to, games pretty much every Friday. But whatever high school or, in this case, all the guys and Burn Orange Nation does a good job of this. I know all the Horns websites have some sort of tracker for commits and targets and how they're doing throughout the season as well as their schedule and how they played the week before and recaps. I know Burn Orange Nation does a tremendous job of that and something I follow. But if you see that a player that is committed to us, say you're up in the Houston or Katy area or you're going to be nearby and, Jalen Murrow has a game, go out there and support him. Go cheer him on. And one of the beauties of high school football is it's the most creative, in my opinion. I believe that's the most creative level of football we have in our country, right? A lot of things that we see evolve in college come from the high school level and the creativity of some of the coaching. And we always talk about football, being copycat and the NFL being a copycat league. Everything kind of trickles to the NFL last, if you think about it conceptually, especially with what's going on with 7-on-7 camps and how how quickly quarterbacks are even more advanced. Almost all of them are dual threat now. It's really, really insane to watch. So go out and support local high school football, whatever area you're in. Roll call all season long. If you get to see a player, if you get to see a Keaton Crawford, if you get to see Princely down at Manor, I know I'm going to go check him out. I know whatever game Temple has near this way, I'm going to go check out Q, right? So just getting a chance to see these guys and support them is a big deal. Now, 2020 class, that was, we thought we were in trouble after the Zachary Evans stuff. Since I believe at that point we were like in the 30s. Now, according to 24/7, we're 6th nationally. Recently, Bijan Robinson coming on board. He recently got his 5th star out of Arizona. I love his ability to break tackles. I think he is going to develop and have that long speed to finish. And you physically, he's already there. You see the physical development in his body, his size as a runner, and he can do it all out of the backfield. And got to let Stan Drayton off the hook, guys. A lot of y'all have been criticizing on my channel, on social media, beating up some of the position coaches. Public enemy number one of the position coaches has recently been Stan Drayton. But let's give him some credit. He's gotten Jordan Whittington up to speed really quick after he wasn't even a running back coming into Texas, and really having to recover from a guy that they did get. I know everybody likes to talk about not getting Noah Kane, not getting Trey that went to Alabama, but he did get Darian Brown. Unfortunately, Darian Brown had the tumor situation and is not able to play. But they've been able to get Jordan Whittington coached up. You see the young man that Daniel Young is, and I expect him to have a bounce back season. And then he goes out, and Bijan Robinson, one of the things, if you listen to his interview, he talked about Stan Drayton and the credibility that Stan Drayton had in the room, coaching to Jordan Howard, coaching to Ezekiel Elliott. So a lot of you guys have been very, very critical of them. Have some patience with these guys. The other guy that was public enemy number 2 was Oscar Giles. And look what he's turned in. I mean, one of the targets we have, Alfred Collins, who's not yet signed, who hopefully we can get him on board and form like our little 4 horsemen defensive line with Vernon Broughton, Prince Dorba, Princely, and Alfred. Like, that'd be insane. And so, and Van Fillinger, right? So you got 5 defensive linemen, potentially in this class. That's, it's extremely impressive in the position versatility that these guys have. Prince Dorba, to me, looking like a young Joseph Osai playing on that outside, that 3-4 defensive end, and having the ability to play with his hand off or play with his hand in the dirt, just displaying those things. So those of you who were beating up the position coaches, come on and show them some love and give them some credit. Stan Drayton, Oscar Giles, they've done a great job of rebounding in their rooms, in their position groups, and selling this program to these young men. The guy that I'm most excited about and that we signed committed recently this week, Xavier Alford. This brother here reminds me of a baby Earl Thomas, and I really love his ability to turn and run. I like the speed. And he seems, just from the huddle tape and stuff I've seen, seems very, very instinctive, has very good ball skills. And you hear the term rangy all the time especially with safeties, but one of the things that I like about him is, it seems even at an early age, he's able to undercut routes and just I don't want to say gamble, but, take educated guesses on plays and make high level plays in high school. So Xavier Alford really, really just blew me away seeing his tape. And that's a big recruiting win for us because we were neck and neck with Texas A&M there. The crystal ball stuff, I believe we were like 45% and A&M was like 42%. So it was right there. LSU was kind of distant third. But for us to secure his commitment. But again, notice how I mentioned not signed. These are guys we're going to, and I say this all the time on this channel, we have to continue to recruit throughout the season. That goes into winning, and that goes into just making sure we're remaining in contact, making sure that these guys and their families consistently feel like a priority, because A&M's not going to let up on him. LSU's not going to let up on him. All these players are going to continue to get recruited. The other safety that we recently brought in very quickly after Chris Thompson decided to, out of Duncanville, commit to Auburn, Jaron Thompson, I believe from Lufkin. And he reminds me of a longer version of a PJ Locke. Also a safety, but a different type of role, can play a lot of nickel. The film that I've seen, he's around the line of scrimmage a lot. Very aggressive tackler, and I like his ability even on the edges to shed blocks. That's where he reminds me of PJ Locke a ton, and I'm glad BJ Foster brought him up in the press conference the other day and talked about the unsung work that PJ Locke did for us. And hopefully he's a better cover guy than PJ was. PJ really, really struggled with that, whether it was nickel or even down the field. But this brother has better size, very rangy, and he even there was one deep ball I saw where he still put his shoulder down and laid into the guy. I do want to see him develop better ball. He doesn't have the ball skills that Alfred has in terms of looking and really attacking the football in the air. But he's a physical player, and he's super big, but he does have good pad level, good technique, especially, like I said, around the line of scrimmage. So Jaron Thompson, big time pickup, filling in that spot that we lost with Chris Thompson. We come back with two safeties and Alford and Thompson, which is incredible. And then before, Jordan Pouncey's little brother, Ethan Pouncey, commits out of Florida. And by the way, those of you who've been critical of the out-of-state recruiting, I believe we only have three in out of the 17 guys committed so far, we only have three guys out of state: Bajan, Ethan Pouncey, and Van Fellinger from Utah. While Texas, this is still the most aggressive Texas has been in terms of out-of-state recruiting from a philosophical standpoint, we're still doing an excellent job in-state. We're still winning some in-state recruiting battles. There's still many more to be had, and like I continue to say, the guys that we have committed, we're still battling. Even though that they're committed now, there's still some of these guys are still going to take some of their other visits. So we just need to the whole narrative around out-of-state recruiting, to me, tad bit overblown. Always been overblown. You got to recruit nationally to win. Clemson and Alabama have proven that, and I don't think anyone's disappointed with Bajan, Ethan Pouncey, whose brother's here. So I mean, that's and Van Fellinger, who many of you guys are excited about, especially after the fun weight room videos that he's been having, right? So Ethan Pouncey fits the profile, right? 6'1" or 6'1", 6'2", those big corners that Todd Orlando and Jason Washington look to recruit, and he falls right in line with that length. The cool thing with him is he's going to have some time because of the good corner recruiting, and I expect Eaton as well, Joshua Eaton, to commit to Texas, who's 6'2" himself. So, when you factor in a Kenyatta Watson and a Kobe Boyce and all the guys we currently have here already, he's going to have some time to develop and grow and compete, obviously, but there's not, a glaring immediate need at corner. The corner room is going to be fine. My concerns about corner are short term, not long term. Speaking of corner, in June, before the momentum really started busting off, Katon Crawford out of John Tyler, 5'11", 200 pounds. Reminds me from just the little bit of tape I've seen. I probably haven't seen as much tape of him as I have of the others. Reminds me of Antoine Davis, who was here, was it last year or the year before? But Antoine Davis, who was one of those unsung heroes on our team who filled in, especially his senior year, and was remarkable, had a couple touchdowns, interceptions, fumbles, core special teamer. I see Katon Crawford built in a very similar manner. I believe one of the reasons why he's ranked a little lower is very raw and really everything he does technique-wise. So that's a guy they're going to be able to develop, but he's very fast, and he's built like Adonis. So that's why I comped him to Antoine Davis, and I think he can bring the wood like Antoine did as well, especially from that corner nickel spot. So that's a guy who will be able to cover more of like the shiftier guys, and but he's got to work on his technique so he can his physical traits can match up to the quickness and the athleticism needed at the position that Texas will deploy him in. Moving over to one of the bigger names in this class, and one of the more controversial recruitments, because I believe with this young man this is gonna go down to the end. I know he recently committed, but Princely Amanamalan, excuse me if I struggle with his name, but Princely out of Manor, and my homeboy goes to Manor, who played with my cousin, and I've heard really good positive things from him, and he's actually got some Big 12 offers as well. But in terms of Princely, OU's going to be in the mix, and even with Texas there, he said he really still liked OU, and so that's going to be a battle. That's going to be a battle all the way through, and he has a good relationship that he was an OU lean for a while. We've been able to flip him, and I think we have to give some credit to Vernon Broad as well as Prince Darba and the guys on the defensive line, and hopefully they can kind of get him all the way sold on board so he can go out and get Alfred Collins from Bastrop, because Alfred Collins is like former basketball player. He's like one of those guys we haven't had in a long time. I'm trying like almost like an Amenahue type, but more athletic. Maybe not as tall. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6", but Alfred Collins, if they can work on him coming out of Princely's recruitment. Princely's a strong side defensive end. What I like about him and how he fits into what Todd Orlando and Oscar like to do is being able to play multiple positions. Some weeks being interior, depending on the matchup, and moving around. I see that with Princely in his development, as he has a good frame to be able to put on a lot of weight. And still be stronger, athletic, and the whole, the whole bit, right? Especially when you factor in a college weight room. So who are our targets left for 2020? I mean, somebody asked me today about Zachary Evans, and I think he's, right now the Georgia thing is in play. The Zachary Evans thing, to me, that's going to be another one that goes all the way down to early signing day. And who knows? I think he also, just from his earlier comments before about Texas, I think he wants to go to a home run program that's like, he's trying to, I don't want to call him a bandwagon rider or anything, not cast aspersions on that guy, but I think he wants to go somewhere where they're ready to win right away when he gets there, and everything kind of put into place. And so I think he's kind of lingering. Like Georgia looks the part right now, especially I believe Keely Ringo is another guy who's probably going to end up at Georgia, but I'm okay because we have Eaton, who I believe we're gonna grab, and then the other guy is Ty Jordan, who I haven't mentioned yet, who's a running back out of Mesquite, 5'7", $180, very smooth runner. Reminds me of the brothers that used to run for West Virginia back in the day. If y'all remember the names, Noel Devine, or even like a Steve Slayton, some of those smaller, quick, elusive backs. That West Virginia used to deploy when Rich Rodriguez was there with Pat White. Very shifty, is going to help us a lot on special teams. but that's a big target that we're looking at that I believe is a Texas lean. Again, and I talked about earlier about evaluations and hitting all across the board, your 3s, your 4s, and your 5 stars. Ty Jordan currently, according to 24/7, is only a 3-star. He's like the 450th ranked recruit. But from what we see on tape and how we could use him in our scheme and the scheme that we're really developing, he could play a big role and be a key contributor potentially early in this program, especially in that running back room where there's going to be a lot of competition throughout. So that's our 2020 class. 2021, the marathon continues. Shout out to Nipsey, right? So 7 guys committed so far, nationally ranked number 2. Big shout out again, Coach Samples, Jalen Moreau, and the momentum they've built up there. Recently, Billy Bowman commits, 5'10", probably of all people's, like if you just go on highlight tapes, Billy Bowman's highlight tape is ridiculous. Like everything looks like a punt return with him, whether he gets an interception, he can play anywhere. He's a guy that actually, even though he's 5'10", he could probably play outside. I think he has that type of athleticism. I actually expect him to move up the boards. Billy Bowman really, really impressed me with his explosiveness. Unfortunately, Lake McRee, who is out of Lake Travis, tight end, is out for the season with a knee injury. So I'm not going to be able to check him out this year in the Austin area. So get well soon, Lake. Derek Harris Jr., one of the recent commits at linebacker. And I'll finish up with these 2 guys. Derek Harris Jr. addresses a need in 2021 that I think is still actually a need in 2020 that I don't think we'll fill. At the linebacker position, I think we're still light there if we're going to break down a weakness. But what I like about Derek Harris Jr. is he's good at everything you want from a linebacker in terms of taking on blocks, blitzing, and coverage, right? So where he's going to have to develop, he's like barely 200 pounds. He is long and lanky, and he has that good wingspan to disengage. But he's going to have to put on a lot of weight when he gets in. But again, he's only a junior, so I'm not worried about that. And I think he has a good I know on 24 they compare him to Jeffrey McCulloch. I think he's a little bit faster from what I've seen. But, if he has the same instincts that the Shark has, more power to him. Very, very excited about Derek Harris Jr., especially a position in need. 2020, that's my big knock is the lack of linebackers, inside linebackers. Want to see that pipeline build-ups, and I know we're working on it. There's a guy in 2021 again, Blackshear, who he plays like a grown man at linebacker. So there's some guys coming in, but if we can sneak a linebacker in 2020, that'd make me happy. Love to know any other linebackers or whatever, not necessarily linebacker, any other position of need you think we need for 2020 in particular that we might be able to fit in or address, or if there's a sleeper player out there that you guys aren't aware of. But I know we just went through a lot with these recruits and guys I like and my own personal thoughts and evaluations. But most importantly, guys, I want everyone to understand player development is key. Having a plan for these guys is key. A lot of these guys are 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. You never know what's going to happen, what the hell they're going to do when they get on campus. So, if we want to be where we want to be, and we want to be all the way back, and we want to be with the big boys year in, year out, be in playoff contention year in, year out, where we're on the committee's minds and all that, player development is key. We're going to have to hit on some of these 3 stars. We're going to have to hit on some of the 4 stars, and we definitely, the 5 stars got to play like 5 stars when we get them, right? So, That's to me, that's the formula for success. That's the formula I'm seeing across the country. Don't be afraid of out-of-state recruiting, but we are locking up, our areas in Texas, and we're winning some head-to-head battles. We're not winning all of them, but we're doing a better job. We're doing a much, much better job, in my opinion. Got to replace Coach Samples, as I said earlier in the video. That's going to be key as well. If there's any names or anybody out there that y'all, outside of David Beatty, we've talked a lot about him, but outside of that, especially somebody younger that can target some of those areas up in DFW, please let me know. So this has been fun. I can't wait for our 10 for 10 series that we're doing with Tran. Like I said, just 14 days away, and we'll have our third quarter schedule breakdown as well coming. So a lot of stuff coming out down the pipeline on this channel. Very, very thankful for all the messages we've gotten. If you guys have any questions at all regarding recruits or breakdowns or disagree with me, let me know. Appreciate y'all. Horns always up. Thank you.